Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Objective. And we've got quite an objective of what we need to discuss today. You might have heard, or you might have not have heard, and that's the problem, about a beheading that took place due to somebody in France, I believe, drawing the image of the Prophet Muhammad. That's the Muslim, I would say, sort of the hero of that whole thing, right? And you're not supposed to draw him according to that religion. A lot of religions have similar rules, like don't draw the image of this figure, or don't draw the image of a person at all. Some religious views say, but there only seems to be one religion where you get killed or hurt with violence in some way for breaking that rule. And this happened in France recently, and I don't think it's being given quite the attention that it warrants. Something I've thought about in recent years is how there's been a big kind of movement away from the left over the last few years by a bunch of people who see themselves as, Blexit, that's blacks leaving the left or leaving the Democrat Party, or the gay version of that, gays leaving the left, various people, nerds leaving the left, people who love video games and movies and comic books, feeling that the politically correct left has taken over things and it's cutting into our free speech and it's time to rethink being on the left. And I've always kind of noticed that, with a little bit of cynicism and a little bit of appreciation for the fact that people are sticking up for their values. But I've always thought, this whole kind of leaving the left trend began shortly after the Charlie Hebdo massacre in France around 2015, I believe, like the beginning of 2015. So I always thought, what if all these free speech warriors had been sort of paying attention and active and vocal when the Charlie Hebdo massacre took place? Would they all stand up for free speech? Would they depict the Prophet Muhammad in cartoon form? Would they make this their essential issue of their cause, because they're so vocal when it comes to adding female characters to video games, or making characters more racially diverse in comic books? They need to stand up against political correctness as they see it. But I've always wondered, would any of these people be as vocal if free speech was literally under attack, quite literally under attack, by a religion, by just absolute naked mystics? That's what I've wondered. And I guess sadly, the answer has sort of come up now, that there was an actual kind of, you could say, copycat Charlie Hebdo attack, similar, that it was for the same reason, motivated by the same purpose, and for the same alleged crime of drawing Muhammad. Very sad to see, obviously, that this terrible incident took place, and also very disheartening to see that the outrage is not quite the same as when there's a horrible incident surrounding other issues, or when even there's no violence in some cases. It's just that comic books or movies or video games are allegedly being taken over by feminists. People get very vocal in protest against that. But where's the protest against this? It just isn't quite the same. A lot to get into there. Now that we've spent the first 35 minutes of the show with my world famous opening monologue, here to help us discuss this topic, here to help us understand, a man who is himself a visionary, himself an artist. He is kind of the hot talk of the town recently. He actually played John Galt at a gala, if I pronounce that correctly, a gala. And people saying it was their favorite part of the gala. My favorite part, personally, was not being invited to it, not getting free tickets with a three-course meal complimentary sent to me. But we all had our favorite moments, I guess. Please welcome Mark Pellegrino.
Hey, what's up? Hey,
Go ahead.
I just want to correct a few things there. I don't think this individual drew Muhammad. He was a teacher, and I think in the interests of teaching his class about freedom of speech on the anniversary of the Charlie Hebdo attack, he was showing his students a picture of the cartoons that caused all the uproar. And then I think a student or two complained to their parents. They lodged complaints, and somehow this got around to this 18-year-old maniac who who decided to take the law into his own hands and murder this man for being a teacher, for teaching kids that that free speech is good. But I think that has excited a huge movement in not as big as the Je suis Charlie movement at the time of the Charlie Hebdo attacks, but the Place de Republique was filled to the brim with people marching in memorial for him and demonstrating in memorial for this guy, and people in France are pretty outraged about it. I didn't hear about it, of course, in any major news outlet. My wife told me about it because she's in Paris right now, and that's what spurred me to look for it.
Wow, that's quite impactful. And obviously, thank you for correcting me on the facts. You know, last time, one of the last times we were on the show, we talked about improvisation, and kind of the format that I've brought to this show is never quite being very prepared. So you get the organic thing. But usually, I mean, at least one of the other co-hosts is prepared and has done the research. So somebody is able to set me straight. But what's interesting, what sort of strikes me about that is that this was an 18-year-old. This was presumably not trained by ISIS. He was not. He didn't grow up in in Osama bin Laden's household. I'm assuming he's a French guy who was drawn to this philosophy that is either Islam or a certain sect of Islam, a certain view that says that the depiction of Muhammad should be met with violence. And it sort of speaks to the void that multiculturalism, that nihilism, that egalitarianism sort of opens up, and kind of it leaves young people vulnerable to finding inspiration in mysticism, in irrational philosophies that at least give them something more integrated than religion. But that is, I mean, that is quite a horrible story. So yeah, that's right. The teacher was showing the cartoon, not actually drawing it. But in any case, it was met with violence and a violent beheading, if I'm correct.
Yeah, with a 14-inch kitchen knife.
Yeah, I remember when the Charlie Hebdo massacre took place. A lot of people were saying "Jesui Charlie," if I pronounced that correctly. Jesui Charlie.
Je suis Charlie.
So meaning I am Charlie. Everyone can't wait to call themselves Charlie. Other than the fact that they're not actually showing the cartoon, that ought to have been the next move for newspapers, for TV stations, for artists.
Indeed.
It's understandable if no one else is doing it, maybe one person is reluctant to be the first. But when you have a giant media companies that have security, they have the ability to be a hero, they're just not doing it. I see it as moral cowardice. I see it as actually ceding the moral high ground to the killers. They wouldn't articulate it that way, but the moral killers, they have a moral statement that they're making. It's evil. It's not a rational code of morality, but they do have a morality. Whereas the sort of mainstream kind of egalitarian culture that we live in, it really has nothing much to say about anything. No morality doesn't mean very much most of the time in the world we're living in. Of course, I'm speaking very generally. I saw this girl, Nicole Arbor. She made a lot of noise on the internet about 5 years ago, also with a video called like "Dear Fat People," and it riled people up. She's really provoking people. Now, I was never a fan of hers. I always thought she was what the kids call cringe. You know, I don't think any serious provocateur ever found her very funny. But nonetheless, she put her neck on the line and was willing to step out and say, "Dear fat people, time to lose some weight." And then I saw she tweeted, "How about we just don't draw Muhammad?" Okay, like this was supposed to be a hot take. This was supposed to be a ballsy move. You could sort of see why she's not really a provocateur. She's not really much of the comedian that she fancies herself. And which is why she's gravitating to this sort of milquetoast kind of Steven Crowder strand of the right, where where they talk a big game about free speech and all of that, but ultimately it's just kind of a watered down version of the real thing, and they just kind of need you to join the mug club because big tech is coming to shut them down. So yeah, so much, by the way, we hear about big tech, right? Big tech, they're censoring us. Where's Tucker Carlson on this? I wonder. I mean, I know this sort of happened over the weekend, but I guess Tucker is due to speak out about this. I hope he does. I'm not saying he won't, but he certainly has a lot to say about big tech censorship, and he uses that word very liberally. Big tech is censoring us. I hope people on the right really get vocal about actual censorship taking place in the Western world.
I don't think they're going to make that distinction. I think they think that I don't think they make the distinction between privately deciding what types of messages you want on your own platforms and the censorship of government telling you what you can and can't say.
Right. But if they do draw that equivalent, I would hope that at least they give a massacre by private citizens against one another, actual violence in the name of censorship, at least the same level of energy as they give, Facebook shadow banning or deleting an account. But I suspect, I mean, if what we've seen so far is any indication, it's the bloodless, quote, censorship of big tech that brings out more outrage and indignation than does literal violence by censors that we see. You see what I'm saying? So,
but how does this incident in Paris integrate with that shooting, that police shooting? I'm trying to put these two together. How does the reaction on the one hand somehow integrate with the other reaction?
I guess it's that the police shooting should be met with a lot of scrutiny, and there should be a very serious investigation to find out what took place. I mean, multiple police shootings, sadly, obviously. I hate to put the word "but" at the end of that, but shouldn't we have at least the same level of outrage when a person was beheaded in the name of, I mean, for literally just being a teacher? It just, like, why shouldn't Twitter be like, shouldn't this be the top trending topic? I mean, I guess it's, if people are so quick to make conclusions whenever they hear a police officer shot somebody, and there's outrage, and often rightfully so, but I'm saying, shouldn't there be at least the same amount of outrage when there's a beheading over cartoons? I guess that's how I'm sort of integrating the two. It seems very selective. The outrage is very selective. And in a case like this, what happened in France, to me, that's just open shut a cause for outrage, a cause for waking up and really seeing our values as human beings coming under attack. So I guess that's how I integrate them too, but I didn't, that's not the thesis of where I'm coming from with all this, in kind of relating it to the police
And
issue.
I think it was open and shut in Paris. I think people responded pretty emotionally, as they should, and I think the police killed the guy. So there was I think one person who protested the killing of the guy, but I think overall people understand that something terrible has happened, and it's a habit that needs to stop instantaneously. I don't think there's a mass movement to stop drawing Mohammed in France. I think this man who showed these students this cartoon is sort of evidence that people are still out there willing to face down evil with good. I think the police shootings are different because they're complex. They're taking place in a volatile political atmosphere where they're sort of on the line, and their lack of training is clearly part of what is escalating these situations to deadly encounters that don't have to be. The fact is, I think in that case, the police were struggling with this guy before he, made a beeline to his SUV with a kid inside or a knife in there. I don't know. I've heard so many different stories. I don't know what's true anymore, which then compelled the police to shoot him. But because they can't subdue these people and they don't know how to do that, they have to escalate to lethal force. And that's something that really should be protested, I think. I mean, yeah, the guy's stupid for doing what he did, but the police, if they're properly trained, if these beat cops who have to deal with physical encounters or minimal blue belts in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, there's no one-on-one encounter that they wouldn't be able to handle pretty easily. But they're not, and so these encounters escalate to deadly encounters. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
no, I mean, I think you're right. My point is kind of, we see a lot of outrage on the right and on the left. So on the right, all of their moral righteousness, it comes up about big tech censoring people. So, and then now they're faced with a case of actual censorship happening not that far. I mean, France is sort of culturally close to America compared to, like, I don't know, the Amazon or wherever. And on the left, of course, we see protests, we see uprisings over police shootings, and again, there could be a lot of righteousness to their indignation. But again, where's the outrage over this? Shouldn't you see leftists worldwide, on Twitter, off Twitter, everywhere? Shouldn't you see people out with signs holding up the Prophet Muhammad? That's kind of what I'm getting at. And I know
I think you should. I think you should.
Yeah, I don't know if you mean like I should personally, but maybe
No,
I should.
I think there should be mass movements
Yeah.
like that. I think it should be back in your face that the First Amendment, freedom of speech, is a pillar of civilization, not not what you follow. And you either have to submit to these pillars of secular civilization, or face the consequences.
Yeah, I think we agree. So isn't that nice? You know, there's so much for debate and discourse and arriving at truth through disagreement. How about just through agreement? Isn't that, you know, I feel like that's underrated. In the chat room, we've got new intellectuals saying it turned out that the killer's stepsister was an ISIS member. So
I think he filmed the event and did post it on social media to ISIS folks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a radicalized guy. He met his proper fate.
I wonder what the future holds. I wonder what we're going to see out of France. They've always been like America's sort of. I see France as like America's, and really to say England's sort of cousin in a way. You know, like they had their enlightenment, England had their enlightenment, and America sort of I see as the child of England. Like they've always been like these kind of two versions of the Enlightenment when you look at the history of philosophy. And I think the British version was way better. But I wonder if the French are going to kind of I don't know. You may say I'm a dreamer. What if they like really strongly turn to individualism once they see that free speech is such a important aspect of liberty? Time will tell.
I don't see it happening, but I hope it does.
I don't see it happening, but you know, the French, I think they gave us the money we needed to win the Revolutionary War the first time. Maybe this time they'll give us the philosophical currency that we need. We'll see. Hey, things happen. Mark finds out about it. I speak about it and then find out about it. And that's what makes the Daily Objective the show that you all love. Please consider making a donation. Obviously, the value we give you is here free, but who knows? Maybe we can put more money into promoting it. Maybe we could put more money into reaching the French and showing them that there's a better way. Until next time, that was Mark. I am Rucka. Everybody have an excellent day.